All right, good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started.
Testing.
We're going to get it up. Clinton, can we get the microphone up just a little? Great. Good morning. Can we say happy birthday, ADA? Woohoo! Can you imagine that right now, all across the country, there are people gathering just like we are today and having picnics and parades. Obviously, they are not in 190 degrees, right? But they're having classes and they're having conferences and they're having parties, all because we have the 28th anniversary of the ADA. Isn't that too cool? Yeah. My name is April Reed. I'm the Vice President of Advocacy here at Ability360, and I am so pleased that all of you came. We're going to have over 100 people in the room. Isn't that amazing? Very cool. So what that means is we got to be a little bit patient and kind with each other, so just be mindful, make room, squeeze in. Don't let somebody sit on your lap, but let them squeeze in next to you, okay? And we'll have a few more people trickling in, so bear with us. We'll all fit, I promise. But we've got a really fun presentation, a fun agenda for you today. We've got some really great speakers that are going to talk to you a little bit about your civil rights, right? Because we know that ADA is our civil rights bill. So they're going to talk to you about your rights and about how to protect your rights personally. They're going to talk to you a little bit about some of the legislation that is happening currently in our state that is important for every person with a disability to know. And they're going to be talking to you about voting. Everybody ready to go vote? Yes? Yes? We got to get ready for that. It's very important. So they're going to be talking to us about that. And then we're going to have some good lunch. We're going to have a cupcake to celebrate this cool birthday. And then we're gonna end with a fun game, okay? So you on board to do this for the next 3 hours? Yes? You with me? Okay. All right. So let me do some housekeeping with you. If you haven't been here before, this is our conference center. If you need to step out to the restrooms, you're going to go out the doors you came in and step towards your right. Turn to your left. There's double glass doors. You've got your restrooms. In the back, we've got our volunteers and staff. Ability360 staff, can you wave at me? They're in the back there. Volunteers, can you wave at me? Thank you. They are happy to help and support in any way you need. So just grab one of them in the back if you need anything, okay? Also, I want to tell you about a couple of cool things that are going on in the room. If you are not registered to vote, or if you need to update your voter registration because you have moved, we can help you do that today. So in a few minutes, we'll have a booth back there. We've also got an accessible voting machine. If you have not seen one of those, they are super cool, and we've got staff here that will walk you back, show you how to use that. So take advantage of that area right here in the back. It's on the right-hand side of the room in the back. We've also got a cool survey that we're doing. So I've invited John. John Bovian is one of the graphic designers in our marketing department. So some of you have seen our really cool magazine, Livability. They are doing a survey, and so I'm going to let John tell you about that real quick.
First, I'd like to find out how many here have heard of Livability magazine or have read Livability magazine? Oh, good. Quite a few hands out there. Awesome. For those of you who haven't yet, we have actually got the whole stack of magazines back there, and you can pick one up for free. We also have a way to subscribe to Livability if you guys are interested. You took a look at it and you're like, yes, I want it. You can subscribe to it back there. But what we're doing right now is really important. The survey, we really want to get some new ideas to get some interesting stories into the magazine. So I'd really appreciate it if you go back there to fill out the survey, or if you want to do it from your table, I've actually got a sheet there with the URL, the web address Or if you want to get really techie, there's a QR code. It's kind of, like a scan bar like you would see at the store. You can use your smartphone or tablet to take a picture and scan. It'll take you directly to the web address. You don't have to use it if you want to, but if you want to go down the rabbit hole and try it out, go for it. We'll also be sending some people around probably towards the end or some of the other breaks to see if anyone needs help filling out the surveys. So we'll kind of walk around the tables, and if someone needs any additional assistance as an accommodation, we can help out with that. For filling out the survey, even if you haven't read it, if you fill it out, give us some ideas. You can put your name in that bowl back there in the corner. Jack, you want to wave? So we've got some apparel back there that we're gonna pull names out at the very end. We've got a shirt, Ability 360 shirt, and a baseball cap also that we're gonna give away at the end. So after you fill out the survey, stop back there, put your name and phone number on the piece of paper, and stick it in the bowl, and we'll draw it at the end. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, John. One final housekeeping item. We are live streaming this event today. And the reason why we're doing that is not just because we love technology around here, which we do, but because this makes our event accessible to those of us who don't drive or can't use public transportation. So they can sit at home and watch this event with us today. Also, think about everyone across the state who maybe doesn't have an Ability 360 center in their neighborhood. We want them to be able to celebrate with us today. So we are live streaming. I'm telling you this because if you don't want to be in camera, it's real easy. Just don't walk down this main aisle, okay? So if you want to be discreet and kind of hang, be on either side, all right? Also, we will have a photographer walking around. If you don't want to be photographed, just gently let her know that. Her name is Summer. She's right back there. And Summer will be happy to keep it moving and go on to the next person, okay? All right. So I want to introduce our first speaker. Angelina Wen is here with us today. And Angelina is the Unit Chief Counsel of the Arizona Civil Rights Division at the Office of the Arizona Attorney General. She mediates, negotiates, and litigates to enforce the Arizona Civil Rights Act and to make victims whole in the areas of voting, employment, housing, and public accommodation. Before joining the Arizona Attorney General's office, Angelina was an associate scholar researching, publishing, and testifying in support of state and federal legislation. So we're very happy to have you here today with us, Angelina. Please come on up. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that introduction, and thank you to David for the invitation. Absolutely. And thank you to David for the invitation to come and speak this morning to all of you. I'm excited to be able to present a little bit about the state counterpart to the ADA that we affectionately call ASDA, the Arizonans with Disability Act. So I'm going to walk us through our state legislation and also kind of give a rundown of what we do at the Arizona Civil Rights Division, how we take complaints, how we investigate, and how we move through cases of discrimination. So I'm here on behalf of my section chief, Rebecca Browder, and myself. We are a division within the Attorney General's office that is mandated by statute to investigate discrimination charges by members of the public. So as I said before, it's a program where we mediate, investigate, conciliate, and litigate civil rights complaints nationwide. So we also provide conflict resolution services. So we really encourage parties really at the earliest time to use our services and to come sit down with the mediator and try to resolve the issues that they experience. Oftentimes there's a miscommunication in the interactions that we have, and just getting the parties to the table really helps resolve things at the earliest point. We also provide education and outreach in the community. So we always get gracious invitations from Ability to 360 to speak here. We do an Arizona Fair Housing Partnership presentation yearly. And we're also out in the community making people aware that we're here and about what we do. So we're tasked with enforcing the Arizona Civil Rights Act. That's Title 41, Chapter 9. And that covers employment discrimination, which would be the state counterpart to a Title VII, which is what the EEOC enforces. We also enforce the Arizona Fair Housing Act, which is the state counterpart to the Federal Fair Housing Act, which you'll see the HUD enforcing. And then here today to talk a little bit more about ASDA, which is our Public Accommodation Statute for Disability. We also do see some Voting Rights Act cases. They are pretty infrequent, but during an election cycle, we will see a few. And then we also have our public accommodation for non-disability. So that'll be your race, sex, national origin, denial of goods and services at a place of public accommodation. And we refer all of these statutes together as ACRA, the Arizona Civil Rights Act. So here's a little graphic to kind of visualize the process. We receive a complaint from a member of the public, and that can be either online through our website. We have an online portal where you can fill out a complaint. You also can walk into our office. We just recently relocated our main office to Central and Palm. So if you'd like to come visit us, you can walk in and you'll meet with an intake individual who will take your information. Also, we take phone calls all day. So we have a great administrative staff that speak both English and Spanish that are filtering the charges from members of the public and seeing if it meets our jurisdiction under statute. So if we do find that you are alleging a case of discrimination that we can take, it gets referred to an investigator. We have a great team of investigators both here in Phoenix and also in Tucson. That investigator is going to reach out to the business or the place that individual, if it's a housing provider or your employer, to get their response, and then it proceeds from there to investigation, witnesses, documentation. After that, like I said, we often refer at the very earliest stages for mediation. Our statute is very resolution focused. We like to try and, like I said, make our victims whole and enforce the Civil Rights Act at the earliest stage. If we can provide relief to somebody who's been harmed today, it's oftentimes much better than 2 or 3 years down the road after a lengthy litigation. If we find at the end of an investigation that we have reasonable cause to believe that discrimination occurred, we issue what's called a reasonable cause determination. And that's an order that says we found that there was reasonable cause that discrimination occurred. And it triggers a 30-day period of conciliation again. So this post-finding conciliation is a 30-day window where our office tries to bring the parties to a mutually agreeable resolution to that complaint. If for some reason we're not able to resolve at that point, this is where we go into our litigation phase. So our office, as the Arizona Civil Rights Division, can litigate and file lawsuits to enforce the Arizona Civil Rights Act. And then we have any number of resolutions at that point. Oftentimes we get a consent decree, which is a public settlement. We've gone to trial, and there are cases that have been, appealed even as high as the Ninth Circuit when we practice it in federal court. So that's a little overview. So for our ASDA complaints, our Arizonans with Disability complaints, our statute says that the Attorney General shall investigate all allegations of violations of ASDA. So this is mandatory. Anytime we receive a complaint where it meets on its face an allegation of violation, we will investigate it. So oftentimes that's like a very great thing that our members of the public appreciate about our office is they know that they're going to get a full investigation when they come to our office. And sometimes, you know, if your complaint gets referred to the DOJ, they have any number of, you know, thousands, tens of thousands of cases. You may not get a full investigation. But at the AG's office, you definitely will get an assigned investigator who will thoroughly look through the case to see if there is discrimination involved. So that allegation needs to be filed within our office within 180 days of the occurrence or of the discriminatory practice. And I've kind of walked through this second part, which is that if after investigation we find cause, then we go into that conciliation phase. And we can file a lawsuit if it's unsuccessful. If we don't find that there's reasonable cause that discrimination occurred, we dismiss the complaint and we let the parties know that. I'm just going to walk a little bit through the statute, what the law actually says. So, no individual may be discriminated against on the basis of disability in the full and equal enjoyment of goods, services, facilities, privileges, advantages, or accommodations of any place of public accommodation by any person who owns, leases to others, or operates a place of public accommodation. So that's kind of, there's a lot in there. But we're going to kind of break it down piece by piece. So first of all, the statute defines disability as a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities, or also a record of having such impairment. Like, for example, a history of cancer, even if it's not active at the moment. Also covers being regarded as having such an impairment. So someone regarding someone as having a disability, even if in actuality they do not. And then public accommodation, what we're talking about here, this is not an exhaustive list, but it includes places such as hotels, motels, other places of lodging, restaurants, theaters, concert halls, auditoriums, convention centers, your grocery store, your laundromat, your public transportation, museums, libraries, parks, zoos, amusement parks, nurseries, private schools, daycare centers, gyms, bowling alleys. So really any place offering goods and services that are open to the public. So the statute goes on to kind of flesh out what discrimination means. So discrimination can include a denial of an opportunity to participate in or benefit from goods and services. It can also include a loss of opportunity to participate in or benefit from. So you didn't even get to the place where you could take advantage of the goods and services. You lost that opportunity. And then it also includes a good service, facility, or privilege that's different or separate from what's provided to others. So discrimination includes being offered something that's not offered to the general public. It's somehow different or lesser than for whatever reason. Discrimination also includes, under ASDA, the imposition or application of eligibility criteria. So this could mean, for example, in order to participate in this particular activity or to receive a service, one must be able to hear or speak, as opposed to just the ability to understand and also communicate through whatever means that individual is able to do that. So that eligibility criteria would be those set of standards that screen out individuals with disabilities based on discriminatory criteria. It also includes the failure to make reasonable modifications in policies, practices, or procedures if the modifications are necessary to afford those goods and services. So this is where you'll see the language often of like a reasonable accommodation. So under our ASDA statute, as opposed to our housing and employment, we use the language of reasonable modification, which is that if you have a standard practice or policy in your business, if an individual with a disability requests a reasonable modification to that policy, you're required to allow that. So unless that particular public accommodation can demonstrate that it would fundamentally alter the nature of the goods or services offered. Discrimination also includes failure to take steps that may be necessary, such that no individual with a disability is excluded. So the failure to make your building front accessible is a failure to take steps to make your place of business accessible to any individual with a disability. And this includes modifications, but also the provision of auxiliary aids and services. And again, unless that business can show that it would make their goods and services fundamentally altered, so changed in a way that they couldn't really provide the goods and services in the way that they usually do, or it presents an undue burden, which has to do with the financial costs. The last thing on this slide that discrimination also includes is the failure to remove architectural, communication, and transportation barriers. So some other obligations under ASDA, so those are sort of the what you're prohibited against doing, so that would include discrimination against. There's also some affirmative obligations under ASDA that public accommodations need to comply with. And so goods and services shall be afforded to an individual with disability in the most integrated setting appropriate to the needs of the individual. So if there's a way to offer the goods and services in a way that's most integrated, the business needs to find a way to make that happen. Also, an individual shall not be denied the opportunity to participate in programs or activities that are not separate or different. So in this case, an individual with a disability doesn't need or is not requesting any different type of program or separate goods and services. They would like to participate with everyone else with the same goods and services. So an individual with a disability is not required to accept a modification or accommodation, and they're not required to receive any goods or services that are separate or different. They can receive the same. And also the last bullet point on this list is an individual or entity shall not utilize standards or criteria of administration that they have the effect of discriminating on the basis of disability. So if there's a way that goods or services are allocated to people, or if there's a particular administrative function, that it can't be used to screen out individuals with disabilities. I'm going to run through some of these slides a little bit faster. I see I'm winding down on my time. Some exemptions under ASDA where ASDA doesn't apply, that would be private clubs, so areas that aren't open to the general public offering goods and services. Also religious organizations or entities controlled by religious organizations. Also recently in 2017, I didn't have a bullet point up there, but under ASDA, our state law, as opposed to ADA, websites are not covered. I wanted to share some recent ASDA cases that our office has litigated to kind of give you an idea of the types of complaints, and then just follow up on some trends that we're seeing in our office. So this case is the state of Arizona versus Arizona Sports and Tourism, the Arizona Cardinals football. This was from 2013. This was alleging that the defendants failed to provide effective and sufficient auxiliary aids and services for the deaf and hard of hearing. And that was in the new University of Phoenix Stadium. So this case ended up settling with the Cardinals agreeing to provide open captioning over the stadium's PA system during the games, and also agreeing to provide $5,000 and 20 tickets to 5 different organizations that serve the blind, deaf, and hard of hearing. Another case that we litigated in 2011 was the state of Arizona versus Cinemark Holding. a movie theater case alleging that defendants failed to provide effective auxiliary aids and services to transmit video descriptions of the movies, which were available at the time, but they weren't providing to patrons who needed them. So this denied the charging party, who was the individual who approached our office, it prohibited them from it fully and equally enjoying the movie. So we ended up also settling this case with Cinemark agreeing to equip all its new facilities with the technology for video description and to provide at least 50 video description headsets in its existing Arizona theaters. It also agreed to undergo training to be able to use that technology properly, and also to do outreach to let patrons know that this was available for their use. Also included free movie tickets to 3 organizations serving the blind, deaf, and hard of hearing. I think the last case that I've selected just for review is another movie theater case. It was against Harkins. And here, we allege that the defendants failed to provide sufficient auxiliary aids and services for the blind, visually impaired, deaf, and hard of hearing, again, preventing that full and equal enjoyment of movies. So this was a case that actually got appealed all the way up to the Ninth Circuit. And what the Ninth Circuit held was that definitely closed captioning and description narration fall under that definition of auxiliary aids and services, and the movie theater needs to provide those. Open captioning is going to be more of a fact question to see whether or not that's going to be required all the time in every movie theater. Just to wrap up, these are the trends that we're seeing most often of people coming in with their complaints of discrimination. The number one that we see is service animal experiencing discrimination based on a service animal. The second would be just that general reasonable modification of policy, practice, or procedure. You know, it's something as simple as I went to the doctor's office, or I went to a place of business that, you know, they don't allow people to use the restroom. It's not a public restroom, but my disability requires that I have access to a restroom, and they didn't let me use the facility. It could be as, you know, we see those cases. The third most often is that the building is not accessible. We have a team that goes out and actually physically inspects with measurements to make sure that they are ADA compliant. The fourth that we see is the denial of equal enjoyment of services, and then the fifth is that effective communication, ASL interpreters, especially in the hospital and medical context. We see those fairly often. So here's our contact information. I'll be here a little bit if anybody has any questions, but I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Angelina. We really appreciate your time today. If you would like to follow up with Angelina at a later date, if you have questions or you'd like to contact her, we do have her contact information, and I know she'd be happy to answer any questions she can. Our next speaker is Asim Dietrich for Arizona Center for Disability Law. And Asim is going to be talking to us a little bit about some of the state and national legislation that we should be paying attention to right now. So Asim is going to make his way up the middle. So if we can get everyone to just scoot in just a tiny bit, thank you. Asim Dietrich has been a staff attorney at the Arizona Center for Disability Law since 2011. He advocates for the legal rights of individuals with various disabilities. His work includes the representations of individuals who have experienced discrimination due to their disability, the investigation of cases of abuse and neglect against people with disabilities, and the representation of individuals who have been denied medical and mental health services. His recent work includes advocating for the implementation of text to 911 in Arizona, which resulted in the availability of text to 911 in Maricopa County and funding for the remainder of the state to implement text to 911. And I know he's going to be talking a little bit about that exciting development with us. So welcome, Asim. Thank you for being here with us. And while Asim is getting set up, I'll tell you what's next in case you have a burning desire to know what's next on the agenda. We're going to have some really cool pictures and a description of the new light rail station. So if you wonder why all this construction around Ability 360, you're going to see some really cool design and pictures of that in just a few minutes. We ready to go? There we go.
Testing.
We're live. All right, Asim.
Okay.
Should be good.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, I don't think I need the notes. No. You can just go on that side. Okay, so I'm a staff attorney at the Arizona Center for Disability Law, and I'm just going to give you an update, a brief update on some new legislation impacting people with disabilities, and some things you can do to advocate for the rights of people with disabilities. So first, I'd like to just talk about ACDL and the work that we do. So ACDL is a nonprofit law firm that assists Arizonans with disabilities to promote and protect their legal rights to independence, justice, and equality. And so our vision is a society where people with disabilities enjoy full acceptance without barriers. So I'm just going to discuss a few bills that were passed during this last legislative session. So Senate Bill, or SB 1296, requires auxiliary aids and services in all emergency communications by first responders and government agencies. So if a government agency is notifying people of a natural disaster or another kind of emergency, they have to make sure that those communications are accessible. So for example, if they're holding a press conference to discuss an emergency, sign language interpreters have to be provided to make sure that the information is accessible to people with disabilities. And then ACDL was also one of the advocates for SB 1296. So we advocated with the legislature to make sure that these communications could be made accessible for people with communication disabilities. So, and then the next one is SB 1162, which is a silver alert notification for people with developmental disabilities. So basically, it allows the police to issue a silver alert notification if someone with a developmental disability is missing and it's under suspicious circumstances or they're at risk of harm. So it basically allows the community to get involved and assist the police in finding someone with a disability who's missing. And then the next one is SB 1198, and this basically requires that when courts or the Department of Child Safety are making custody decisions for children whose parents are blind, to make sure that they don't discriminate based on blindness when making those custody decisions. So basically making sure that parents who are blind have, the equal access to maintain custody of their children or adopt a child as anyone who's not blind. So that's a big one. That's a very important one because it makes sure that a person who's blind has the same fundamental rights to be able to have access to their children as any other member of the community. And then an unfortunate step backwards is SB 1040. So this basically imposes a civil penalty of $250 if someone misrepresents their animal as a service animal. So it has a negative and disproportionate effect on the disability community, and it targets service animals when the public is really more concerned about pets. And businesses already have the right to deny access to people with their pets. And in addition, this is going to require people with disabilities to possibly have to prove that their animal is a service animal, and maybe even have to prove that in a court of law. So this is a major step backwards that will make it harder for people with disabilities who have service animals. And so that step backwards really shows us why it's important that as people with disabilities, we fight for our rights and we inform the public about our needs and what we need to be able to have equal access to public places. So those are just some bills that were passed this last legislative session. And then now I want to talk just about a couple of ongoing fights that our community is still facing. So the ADA Education and Reform Act of 2017, it's referred to as HR 620. So this is a federal bill that was already passed by the House of Representatives. It has not passed the Senate yet, but it did pass the House. And so it basically requires that if a person with a disability encounters discrimination or encounters an access barrier in a public place or at a business, they have to send a letter to the business notifying them of the discrimination. And then the person with a disability has to wait at least 180 days before being able to enforce their civil rights. So it basically imposes a 6-month waiting period before a person with a disability can enforce their rights under the ADA. And so it's very different because no other group is required to wait to enforce civil rights. If a person is discriminated based on race or gender, they have the right to file a lawsuit immediately. So HR 620 would impose a waiting period on people with disabilities, which is unlike any other civil rights law in the federal law, basically. And so it passed the House, and it was introduced in the Senate. The Senate has not yet voted on it, but the bill is by no means dead. The bill is still out there, and any senator could pick it up and try to get the votes to have it passed. So it's very important that we call our senators. In Arizona, Senator McCain is not voting at this time, but Senator Flake is still actively voting. So it's important that we all contact Senator Flake's office and voice our opposition to this bill, and ask him to oppose it. Yes, Senator Flake has voiced concern over what he believes are serial litigants or people who file multiple lawsuits. Those concerns are generally unfounded because most people only file lawsuits if they've actually been discriminated against. So it is important for us to provide Senator Flake's office information about this issue and basically inform them that this will negatively impact our community, and it really will not stop those serial litigants. There are always people who abuse the system, but the ADA is designed to protect people with disabilities. So we need to voice our strong opposition to this bill and explain to Senator Flake that this is not the way to avoid people from abusing the legal system. And then the other fight we have now is the nomination of Judge Brett Kavanaugh for the U.S. Supreme Court. So the president nominated Judge Kavanaugh a few weeks ago. So if confirmed, Judge Kavanaugh would be the deciding vote to deny health insurance protections for people with disabilities, as well as pre-existing conditions. So basically, the Affordable Care Act will come before the Supreme Court again, and Judge Kavanaugh would likely vote to strike it down and remove any insurance protections for people with disabilities. Judge Kavanaugh has also, in his decisions as a D.C. Circuit judge, he has consistently sided with businesses over people with disabilities. So if any ADA or Fair Housing Act cases come before the Supreme Court, Judge Kavanaugh would most likely side with businesses. In equal employment cases related to disabilities and other types of discrimination, Judge Kavanaugh has consistently sided with employers. So if any ADA employment cases ever come before the Supreme Court, again, he would likely side with employers. And what all this means is a reduction of civil rights for people with disabilities. So, it's very, very important that we oppose Judge Kavanaugh because of his poor record on civil rights for disabilities and also for other marginalized groups. So the president has announced his nomination, but the Senate needs to approve the nomination. So right now, the president's relying on the 50 Republican senators in the Senate to confirm Judge Kavanaugh. But if all Democrats oppose Judge Kavanaugh and just one Republican senator can oppose Judge Kavanaugh, his nomination will not be approved. So it's very important, for all of us to contact Senator Flake and voice our opposition to this nomination. Because if Senator Flake votes no along with the Democrats, this nomination will not move forward. So again, that's, we can make a huge difference just by making a phone call and voicing our opinion. As the largest minority group in the nation, we do have the power to change policy. And so those were a couple of the fights I wanted to talk about that are ongoing and that we all need to advocate for. So now I just want to talk a little bit about the services that ACDL offers and the assistance that we can offer. So some of the areas that we will provide assistance with is access to public accommodation, access to government services, employment discrimination, access to a free and appropriate public education. And then the next slide has more access to transportation, access to voting, access to healthcare and mental health care, and preventing and remedying abuse and neglect of people with disabilities. So those are all areas in which ACDL can provide assistance. We're not able to provide everyone with an attorney just because of our limited resources, but we do also have a lot of information about the rights of people with disabilities and how you can help to enforce your rights and be your own advocate. So if you ever have a legal issue related to your disability, it's always worth giving ACDL a call. And even if we're not able to provide representation, we may be able to provide you some very useful information to be your own advocate. And so you can access our services by calling us. Our number is 602-274-6287. And we take calls between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So we don't take calls Wednesday, but we do take calls 4 days a week. And you can also complete our online intake form. Just go to our website, which is azdisabilitylaw.org. And we have a link that says Getting Help. And if you click on that link, you can access our online intake form. So our process is that you have to either call us or complete our online intake form, and then we can determine what type of help we're able to provide. So are there any questions about anything I've talked about?
So Asim, you've got about 5 minutes. So does anybody have any questions? I'll walk around with the mic. Maybe one of my staff can come up and we'll run around. Yeah.
Okay, so I have one quick question. So I know that that for anything about the ADA for the ADA and the also for the nomination for Brett Kavanaugh. So I understand that the midterm elections are coming up in November, and I understand that Jeff Flake is retiring from that seat. And okay, I'm just trying to think of my question. So I'm sorry, I'm trying to think of my question. I'm sorry, I don't have a question. I'm sorry.
Well, I can just talk about the comment you made regarding Senator Flake possibly stepping down. So if the vote on Judge Kavanaugh can be delayed until the midterms, at that point it would be very important that we all go out and vote and try to get a Democrat into that Senate seat, because that would be one less vote in favor of Brett Kavanaugh. So either way, it's important for us to vote, to call our representatives, but also to vote, because our interests are only heard if we're active in the political process.
Hi. I have a question. When you were mentioning about service animals, I've had some people come in and wonder what's going on with them. And is there somewhere that we can find out the list of service animals that are allowed? I had someone that wanted to bring in her pet, her rabbit, and I didn't think that was listed as a service animal. Are there certain lists that you look at to see what can be considered a service animal?
Yeah, so for a service animal in a public place, it's in most circumstances, it's a dog that's specifically trained to do a certain task to assist with a disability. It could be a miniature horse in other limited circumstances, but those are the only two options for a service animal for going into a public place. It's a little more broad for the Fair Housing Act. It's not limited to dogs under the Fair Housing Act. So if you're going into an apartment, you could have an assistance animal that's not necessarily just a dog, and still be able to rent the apartment without being charged an extra fee.
Any other questions?
Thank you. So I just wanted to address that specific service animal bill. I'm surprised that it's still going through. In any event, I can give a personal, this is a comment. At my apartment complex, there's a lady who is short and she needs a service animal, and so she got an Irish hound. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. It's as big as a horse, like you just mentioned. And it was just right for her because she's short, so she can hold it. And it was just right for her. But in any event, people started to complain, and she was she was not evicted. She left. She left before she was evicted, but you know that was coming down the pike. But the apartment complex where I live, there are lots of problems, not only with that type of service animal, but the people just don't understand. So I'm just want to comment on that, because that's what people said about her dog, that it's as big as a horse, and she said that was just right for her, just because she's short. It's just right for her to get around. So it's, you just, the question, the legal question is, you have to ask, is it good for your disability? Is it what's right for you? That's the legal question. Because when she goes to restaurants and so on, I guess that's going to be the problem too.
Let Asim respond to you, because I think he's got something he would want to respond to you about that.
Yeah, so the last presentation we had was with the Arizona Civil Rights Division. So, if there is an issue like that, whether it's a denial of being able to be accompanied by your service animal, or just general harassment, it's important to notify the Civil Rights Division and see if they can assist with that issue. And I also, in addition, related to service animals, there is no limitation on the type of breed, the type of dog it is. As long as it's necessary for a person's disability, and it's been trained to assist with that disability, it's a service animal. So definitely, if you experience denials or other kinds of discrimination related to a service animal, the the Civil Rights Division is would be able to help, and ACDL would also be a good resource to assist with filing a complaint.
Thank you, Asim. Asim will be around here for a little while today, so if you want to catch him during lunch, or I know that they're always happy to answer questions. If you use their intake number or fill out a questionnaire online, the Arizona Center for Disability Law will be happy to work with you further. Asim, I just want to highlight again, we really appreciate the work that you and so many others, Arizona Center for Disability Law, have done to get text to 911 passed. This is amazing service for not only those who are deaf and hard of hearing, but those of us who have difficulty with speech, or if you're in an emergency situation and cannot speak because you need to be quiet for safety. We now have the ability in Maricopa County and very shortly in the state to text if you can, still call if you can. Do that first if you can call, but if you can't, text. And that's just a really amazing victory in our state. So well done, congratulations, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
So I'm pretty sure that everybody's hungry, right? You ready to eat? Yes. What we would like to do, and please hold your seats. Our staff, some of you we don't see all the time, and it's special to us that you're here. So we would like to serve you today. Is that okay? Also, with so many of us in the room, this way we don't knock or trip over each other, right? So you've got your little slips of paper that have what you wanted for lunch. Our staff are going to be coming and going around. Bear with them. They're going to bring in your box lunch. They're going to collect your slips. We're also going to be coming around with water, and we'll serve you at your tables, okay? So please hold your seats so we make sure that you're not in the restroom while we're trying to give you your lunch, okay? We don't want to miss you. In about 2 minutes, we're going to have our next speakers come up. We're going to have a working lunch, okay? So these are our guests to talk to us about the light rail station, and they've got some really cool pictures and information to share. So please hold your seats, and we'll come back together in just a few minutes, okay? All right.
You take this microphone. The microphone.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. It's working. All right. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing. Do you hear that? It's good? All right. Thanks. Is that?
Can I put a little closer to you? Put it right there.
Closer to you.
That might be better.
Testing, testing. Testing, testing. Test, test. Testing, testing. All right, thanks.
Turn off.
So David, let me grab bios for you.
It's on.
You can give us just about 2 more minutes. I think we'll be through the majority of the We'll go quickly.
we had over 100. We had about we had to cut off at 110. Well, we had to cut off at 100, but we allowed 110, expecting drop-offs. No drop-offs. So, but it's good. But we made room just in case people showed up. So we have about 20 minutes. So
yeah, 15, 20 minutes.
Let me see. Thanks. So we have about 20 minutes. So I'm sure we have questions too. So yeah, but I saw the presentation. It's a good presentation. I saw it.
Yeah. We added some features to it too. So.
People love photos.
There's a lot of information on there. And I know everyone else had the country club wraps.
So you change over? You change it over? Yeah, it's on the black top. So you change it over? Black top? You get the, I saw the south side.
Yeah, we got a big portion on this side down there. The only bad part is when we did the samples in the plant, there's a couple of spots that the oil was too high in, so they got to do a couple of courses and make sure it's all okay. If not, there might be a little section we have to take out. And that's just a manufacturer not watching what they're doing, which sucks. That's what we were just talking about, being able to get traffic all over the south side, on the new sidewalks.
One of the comes that has
Just the asphalt getting on that new road, so that we get all done.
So they can maintain without falling apart, crushing, crumbling. How do you find that out?
They do it for, so they get samples of the pit, you know what I mean, they take percentages of the plant, as it's coming out. Well, then all of a sudden they come in, there's a couple of,
I think I have someone in my video.
so then they have to come in and take the core in different sections of it, like a little small core, and then they test that asphalt for the oil content. And then as they do that, if it's like 3 cores, then they say, okay, this 50 foot or 100 foot or whatever that section is, either you take it out or, you know what I mean, we're okay with it.
It's crazy how you can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of nuts.
I know. Wow. All right, let me get started.
A lot of stuff.
But it's crazy how they can pinpoint where.
Yeah.
And then.
Well, and that's the bad part is it just, you know, it comes out of the plant so fast. You know what I mean? They've got 6-7 trucks online every time, slap paper. I mean, they started at 3 and they were done paving like 8 o'clock. You know what I mean? Over 700 tons. So it goes fast when you get over like that.
Hello. Can you guys hear me out there? We're going to get started here. Is the PowerPoint? PowerPoint ready to go?
Oh, yeah. Let me sit. Do you guys want to do the clicker? We've got your PowerPoint queued up. Okay. Sorry, I'm used to it. So this is our. There you go. And you know what? Let me go ahead. Are you going to co-present?
Yes.
Okay, so let's mic. I don't know. We have 2 handhelds. One of them isn't working. And if you are okay doing this.
This one? Which one you want? This one?
Testing.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here again. Got some really exciting news for some of you. Some of you, like April said earlier, is probably wondering what's taking place outside the building. So we can kind of hold the conversation down a little bit, kind of quiet down a little bit so we can get started here. And that way we can stay on time. But here we have Stacy and we're back in Valley Metro here to give a presentation. But our presenters today are Richard Beltran with Valley Metro. But Richard has over 18 years of experience, industry experience. 11 has been with the City of Phoenix area as a Valley Metro design, construction, management consultant. Richard, can you raise your hand for who you are? Our next presenter is Corey Sargent from Stacy and we're back. Corey has over 18 years of experience in the heavy construction industry, and has worked For the last 13 years, Port St. went back on several light rail projects, including streetcar, light rail, and commuter rail projects. So let's give these two guys a hand. But you guys are going to be very excited about what's taking place. It's going to open doors for many of you to get here, not by bus, not by dollar ride, not by Uber, but by train. So let's give these guys a hand. And take it away, guys. It's all yours.
Good afternoon. Oh, morning. Morning, guys. Still morning. Hi, I'm Richard Beltran. Let me start by saying, representing one of the original designers for the first 20 miles, I want to apologize because we could have done a lot better. So we're trying to incorporate all of our lessons learned onto this station so you can use this station as an example. But anyway, who's familiar with the 50th Street Station, by the way? Just 1, 2. By the way, we're having a station right across the street. Where are we at? So we're building a station right across the street, in the middle of the street. Anyway, so this station is one of the first stations that we're going to install into the existing alignment. So we're going to keep the trains moving and also surgically install this station right in between what I'm showing here is a map real quick of the entire 20 miles. And right here, there's a little bubble that indicates the 40th Street Station. And just east, the airport station. So east of that would be the 50th Street Station. And then farther east would be the Priest Station. So we'll be in between there. Right.
I know where 50th Street is, but where is it? Right out in front here? Or is it to the left or to the right?
It'll be right. Right. As you walk out, do you know where the bus stop is? Right in front of Ability 360.
Exactly.
You turn over towards the west, and it'll be what is it, about a couple hundred feet? Less than 300.
It starts going downhill, and that's hard for some of us to walk on.
Right, and let me get to that because we made improvements to the sidewalk as well too. So I would explain that a little bit.
I addressed that
And we listened. So I'll explain it a little bit later. Okay, so this is where it's at. Again, this station will be one of the first stations on the existing alignment. It's being funded by the City of Phoenix approved plan, which is a T2050. So this will be the first station to get installed here. Just a quick schedule. The planning for this station started in 2016. Design, I'm showing a map of the quick schedule here. The design happened in 2016 on to mid-2017. Of course, we're in construction. In construction, we started late 2017, I believe, and then we should be ending our completion early 2019. Okay, let me just talk about design primarily. So again, we did lessons learned. We asked tons of questions. We got some feedback from the entire community, from all of us too. In talking with the designers, our designer of record is Gannett Fleming. It's a civil and architectural engineering firm. And we talked to him about the lessons learned that we had on the first 20 miles. And also we wanted to incorporate new technology and then improve on what stations we have out there. One unique thing about these stations, or one complication that we had, is that we had side platforms, which the side platforms are a lot smaller than the center platforms on the guideway. So our current path of travel is only allowable path of travel on a side platform. Even the center platforms today on the existing alignment is only 4 feet, and everything else is taken. So we're limited on what we can do. So we learned about that as well too. What we wanted to do to this station, again, incorporate the lessons learned. We wanted to have inclusivity, accessibility for all. This is kind of funny. Try not to laugh. It's 360 days of comfort, 365 days of comfort in Arizona. That's a little bit difficult. Could I ask one thing? I'll acknowledge your question. Could we just go with the presentation and then ask questions at the end? I'm sorry, but I'm going to be honest. Absolutely not. No, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Right. If funding was unlimited, absolutely. We'll have glass or shade canopies, solar panels, but we couldn't do that, and there's reasons for that, and we can talk about it later. Could we get to the questions at the end, if that's okay, because we're limited in time? And my boss is right there, so he knows. I'm just kidding.
Ask all the questions you guys want.
No. All right. So 365 days of comfort. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm still sweating right now. Maybe I'm not. Never mind. Okay, safety and security. Absolutely, that's one of our highest priorities, and we'll explain that a little bit later. And in short, we'll be watching you all going through that station. Okay, this is my background is in architecture and engineering. This is more for artsy type. No, I'm just kidding. Emotional and spiritual respite. We wanted to make the station as comfortable as possible, to include even from the paint. As you're approaching the station from Ability 360, as you're approaching that station, we wanted to make it comfortable as much as we can, given that we do live in the desert. A natural environment as a universal experience. Again, from Ability 360 all the way following that the corridor that we have to the actual platform, we want to make it as natural as possible and as comfortable as possible. And I'll explain that a little bit later once I get to the artwork itself primarily. Let's see what we have here. Accessibility enhancements. Again, lessons learned. We did have lessons learned on the station, on existing stations. So we wanted extra space on the platforms. To answer your question, ma'am, we wanted subtle slopes on the walkways leading towards the platforms. That was one of the primary things that we asked for to the design team to design. And we do have that, and I'll show a brief illustration on how we did that. Okay? Sidewalks are wider, and they were lowered to help. I think we had 5-foot sidewalks, I believe, existing, and we're going to 8, where we can, of course. So the majority of that corridor, north side and south side, will be 8 feet. Level crosswalks, again, and driveways. So again, we're making them as level as possible. We didn't want any significant slopes. Enhanced shading, landscape and hardscapes. Again, we did our lessons learned. We wanted more space on the platforms, and I'll show you a little bit later what we did. TVMs, they stand for ticket vending machines, location enhancements. So yes, we know where all the ticket vending machines are, the TVMs. The existing alignment did not have shading elements. They were just out in the sun. They were not ADA compliant. So we had Valley Metro fix that as well too. And now we're adding shading elements. We're trying to shade these ticket vending machines as much as possible right now. It's a little bit difficult given the narrow space that we have and the orientation of where we have these stations. So we're working on that as well too. Ideally would be like the gentleman mentioned, to have that area covered or have but sometimes it's very difficult to do that with the funding that we have. Okay, one thing that we did differently during design, and one thing that I've experienced too. So when I was a young kiddo, I ended up designing this sample model. What I'm showing here is models, physical models that people can actually touch. So the upper left-hand corner, I'm showing a model that's right now, it's just being used on display at Valley Metro. So when we did that model, it was only for viewing, for public meetings, for viewing. Nobody touches that model. So what I wanted to do here on this station is I want to use that model and have people actually physically touch the model. And I think that would be helpful when we're trying to make a point across to, like for example, the visually impaired. What we did is on these community meetings that we had folks come over. We explained to them how to get from Ability 360. On one of the images, I'm showing Ability 360 in the corner, and then it leads to the platform. So what we wanted to do is make sure that people know the path to the station. And I think once the station comes into play and when it gets activated, then that would be an example station and how we train folks to use that station in a safe manner. Okay? So this is just an image of, can you guys see that image? Well, it's been touched a lot, and it's damaged a lot, so excuse the model. We'll make improvements. One of the nice things that we did with this model, we were the first one to incorporate a physical model that people can touch. So on future extensions, like here we have a Tempe streetcar model, and now we have a South Central corridor model. So we were the first ones to use it. We set a trend. Now every design team is going to do a physical model that everyone can touch. And that way we can guide them through it. Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Okay, so what I'm showing here is an area model and area picture, aerial photo, showing the orientation of the station. And right now, I'm going to base my view from Ability 360 on the southeast corner here. So north is up. So here we have the two platforms. Again, it was a side platforms, right? So one of the things we did early on during design is we caught it where the walking distance was way too far for folks to walk from Ability 360. So what we did was we ended up shifting the south platform closer to Ability 360 to help folks walk and stay out of the heat as much as we can. And one of the things that we did as well too is we have a line of trees that will give you shading as much as possible. We have help from the building on the south side too, but from walking from Ability 360 to the first crossing, we do have some shading elements, and I'll show you that a little bit earlier. The next slide. So what I'm going to show you is an image. I'm going to stand, make believe. I'm going to show you a rendering, an illustration of standing right here as you're approaching the walkway, the crossing, and I'll explain what we did. So there it is. Okay, the shading elements are fully grown. It's not going to look that right at the grand entrance or at the main opening, but this was what it'll be like when the trees grow. Yeah, whatever. Okay, so as we're approaching the pedestrian crossing, one of the things we wanted to do is keep the sidewalks level as much as possible, right? In maintaining the drainage that we have on the street as well too. So we wanted to make sure that things were somewhat flowing properly. As you see, the emotional and spiritual respite that we talked about was the emotional sense that you get when you actually are walking toward the station, and then once you approach the station, you'll see what we did as well too. So like I mentioned, on the south side we have a row of trees that will provide some shading as well too. When you arrive to the crossing, you'll see that we do have some shading elements while you're waiting. But we did, wow.
You started late.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay, we'll speed it up. Okay, sidewalks, depressed curb. We have like a raised curb, a 6-inch curb that'll follow the alignment throughout the corridor there and get you on the crossing. One of the enhancements that we did on this, on the crossings that we're going to do is provide new technology that's been used elsewhere on some other crossings. Everybody is familiar with the push buttons, right? Everyone's familiar with the audibles, right? So now we're introducing the pedestrian detection. We're thermal imaging, FLIR technology, where we'll have a camera pointed down at the crossing where you're pushing the button. And what we're going to do is this thermal imaging software is going to detect you, and within seconds, it'll provide lights changes or traffic changes to make you cross in a safe manner. We'll explain about it later. I'll save it for a little while, and if you have any questions, you can see me in the back. We're running out of time. Okay, existing stations, 4 feet path of travel. Now we improved them to get 6 feet path of travel on the platforms themselves. Now, here's an example of the wider path of travel, showing you the shading elements. And I'm going to present to you the artwork. So the inspiration for the artwork that we have is a creosote bush. The creosote bush, if you're not familiar with it, it's local. It grows here locally. Doesn't need much water. It has medicinal purposes, and also has a nice smell to it. So that's where you get that spiritual, natural sense. So when you walk up to it, if it rains, you'll get a little bit more smell, but we'll see what happens with that. We made it clear. We made it where the train will be able to see you while you're walking under these canopies. We'll make it clear so the train can be able to see you, and also the roadway, the vehicles can be able to see you as well too. This is what it's going to look like on the entryways. Gives you an example. And here is the construction of them, and this was supposed to be a little video, but it's not working, so running out of time. Construction. Corey.
Okay, I won't take as much time as Richard. But you guys can ask all the questions you want. So as you guys can kind of see out there, all right, you got her. Is that better? So as you guys can see out there, there's been a lot of stuff going on. I mean, sidewalks ripped up, roadways tore up, traffic back and forth, PEDs moved around. Right now we have all the PEDs on the south side on the new sidewalk, right? And yesterday, or 2 days ago, we did some actual roadway paving. So here in the next week, we're going to start transitioning everybody to those outsides, cars, PEDs, everything. So it'll be on new asphalt, new concrete walkways, all the stuff Richard talked about right there. So right now we're 45% complete on the project. We've done all the private utilities. We've done all the public utilities, and we're just wrapping up all that outside hardscapes, hard surfaces, roadway widening, and then finishing up the outside edges here by the 1st of August, right around there, to get everybody on those. These are kind of the quick couple of different phases that we had. The current one that we're in right now, phase 1A, and then to 1B kind of shows the PEDs get moved out onto those outside, those new walkways. And then really when we start the platform work, everything moves to those outsides, new roadway, new sidewalks, and we start constructing on that center platforms widening portion of it. And then just a couple of quick photos. These are the new sidewalks and paths that are installed. Some retaining walls that we put up there. New railing, new guardrail. Really nice out there. It's coming along pretty good. Some of the guys pouring some more of the sidewalks. And then this was our big paving that we did the other day. Had a lot of road grading going on out there, and some finish asphalt work.
Okay, well, this is supposed to be a video.
Told you we'd be fast.
This was supposed to be a video showing the entire station and showing you guys the landscaping and the little alcoves that we have that we can be in a shaded area while you're waiting for the train. Any questions? When are we going to be completed?
So all of our construction, substantial completion is like February of next year is when we're done. And then there's some testing that Valley Metro has to do on their side of things. And the remainder of that, and hoping to open up shortly there later that year.
Hey, see April there? See April there?
Thank you.
See April? Yes, you can.
Any other questions?
It's on. It's on.
Like the testing.
The testing?
So, so when we are doing, we have every time we put anything new in the ground, it has to be tested. I mean, so if there's concrete, they test the concrete. If there's rebar, structural steel, all that stuff, they test everything. When we get all that complete and everything is bought off and everything is sound and everybody says you're good, then Valley Metro starts running their trains through there to make sure clearances work. They do like kind of a mock-up test time, make sure the trains come through okay, travel safely, and get everybody on and off when they do actually open up. Any other questions? thank you guys so much for letting us come here today. I really appreciate that.
You need to just do it. Let's go rest her.
Oh, of course. Please go right ahead. Thank you, guys. That was really informative. No, you were good. You were good. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for having us over today. Let us know if we can do anything.
Testing, testing, testing. So everyone, if I can have your attention. So I have a special favor to ask, if you don't mind. Some of you might know that for many, many years, my former director, Amina Crook, planned and organized this event. And so for those of you who don't know, Amina's not here today because she's back in Washington, D.C., getting the National Council on Independent Living Region 9 Advocate of the Year Award. So we're really proud of her. So look to our website and our Facebook. We'll have some pictures up shortly of her getting her award. Very well deserved. But this event is Amina's baby, I have to tell you. She loves this event. If you know her, she loves it. And she would not allow me to let you go today without us saying happy birthday to the ADA and having a cupcake to celebrate. So our staff have some cupcakes coming around. This is the 28th birthday for the ADA. Can we sing happy birthday? Is that okay? All right, you're not going to leave me hanging? All right. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday.
This is your pen, they said? Not yours? I'll hold on. All right,
Thank you. Somewhere in D.C., Amina has heard us and is smiling right now. The other thing that we couldn't do today is we couldn't have this event without acknowledging two special people that we recently lost. And we wanted to acknowledge Ed Myers and also Barbara McDonald. Ed Myers worked at Arizona Center for Disability Law. He's been one of the leaders in the disability community. He advocated for everything from transportation to civil rights. He was down at the legislature every time there was a meeting. And we lost him a couple of months ago. He was a very special friend to this event. In fact, the trivia game that we're going to play before we leave today was created by Ed. So we couldn't leave without acknowledging him. So Ed, we thank you for your work, and we're thinking of you today. Also, many of you know Barbara McDonald. I think of Barbara as one of the most powerful low vision and blindness advocates I've ever known. I had the special privilege of sight guide or human guiding for Barbara at many legislative events, and we've trucked the Capitol till we probably walked miles together. And Barbara, if you don't know, Barbara was a teacher. She retired and became an advocate and had a second career as an advocate and served for many, many years as the president of the Arizona Council for the Blind. She would just be giddy knowing that there's this many people here today. So Barbara, we love you and appreciate your work. We'll carry on and do our best to fill the spots of those two people. So we're really lucky today to have a guest from the Arizona County Recorder's, or excuse me, the Maricopa County Recorder's Office, Chatham Kitts. Chatham taught a voter registration training for a few of our staff and many others a couple of days ago. So if you want to get registered to vote, he's your guy. If you want to work the polls or help other people to vote, he's your guy, and he does a really great training. We've really enjoyed it. So he's here to talk to us today about some of the cool things that Maricopa County Recorder's Office is doing. Recorder Fontaines is a really powerful leader for us in making things accessible and accommodating people with disabilities. So thank you for being here. We appreciate your time.
Truly my pleasure. All right, you got to do me a favor. I'm 51 and have to tweet, which is a real joy. So you need to take a photo of me giving this presentation so I can tweet it for my boss. Now, first, is everyone registered to vote? All right, anyone not registered to vote, don't be ashamed. I've got forms in the back. We will get you registered to vote. It is a true honor to be here. Let me get 4 paragraphs in before I get a question, okay? I am happy to take questions. You know, it was really neat because last year I was at this event and I was just sitting in the back and Ronaldo Fowler came up and he really didn't like the county recorder's office. And I said, hey, Ronaldo, I'm here. We really care. And in that year, we have really worked a lot together, and it's been an amazing experience for me and the community, and just to make some really significant changes. We've had 3 disability roundtables. We're doing an event this year, National Voter Registration Day, which is why we had the Deputy Registrar training here a couple days ago. We're doing 1 training a month here for the next 2 months. So if you want to go out, learn how to register people to vote, and then go out in the community to get your peers registered to vote and voting, that's what it's all about. It's peer-to-peer advocacy. You know, we've done a lot of work with the developmentally disabled communities, and again, this is something that came out from the community. I got a call to take a tour of Gompers, their employment center, and I asked Mark, hey, has anyone ever asked to register your folks to vote? And literally after picking his jaw up off the ground, 3 weeks later we were there and registered 33 people to vote. A couple weeks after that, we brought out a special election board to help these citizens cast their ballots. Those folks have gone on to become voting ambassadors. We go to other organizations that work with people with autism, and we register them to vote and empower them to be a part of their government. And I love kicking the bureaucracy in-house. One of the things that John brought up last year is that there are people who cannot make a mark. And yet Arizona law requires that you make a mark to fill out your voter registration form and cast a Pebble ballot. So we have been kicking this up to our lawyers. We've got a group internally who are developing a policy on this issue. And so I really like to stir the pot internally. The other thing we have are Braille ballots. And so I brought up the logical question, if we're mailing out a ballot in Braille to someone, shouldn't the rest of the correspondence to that person be in Braille too? And you should have seen the looks I got from the staff. Uh-oh. So we are in the process. There's a 90-day card that gets mailed out to anyone who's not registered with a political party so that they can choose either a Democrat, Republican, or Braille ballot. And that we're going to try to do in Braille, and then the rest of the correspondence we do will be in Braille as well. And it's just shocking to me that people don't realize that if someone has requested a Braille ballot, maybe they might need their other correspondence in Braille as well. One of the issues in the past, and I brought it, we have the accessible voting machine in the back. Our volunteers were horrible about setting them up, and when Recorder Fontes heard that, he just decided to take that job away from him. Now it is our staff that goes out and sets up the polling locations, and these machines will be on each and every time that we have an election. We want you empowered to vote. Now, voting options, as you know, we have the PEVL, which is the permanent early voting list, where ballots are mailed out 27 days prior to an election, and you can mail them back or drop them off at a polling location. We offer these in Braille, as I mentioned, but we also have a large print ballot, and that is 2 feet by 3 feet. It is phenomenally big. But if you have low vision and you want to vote independently, it is a phenomenal tool for you to use. And so we've been promoting these as well. And then finally, we have what's called a special election board. These are 2 citizens of different political parties who will come to your home, hospice, nursing home, wherever you happen to be, and they will assist filling out a ballot for you if you cannot do it yourselves. I know with a lot of folks in these communities, you want to vote independently. You don't want your spouse marking your ballot or your caregiver. You want that privacy, and we have the tools to assist you. Now, all of these services are available real simple. Just dial 602-506-1511, and you can request these services. Now I'll open up to questions, and I know the gentleman in the white hat was chomping at the bit, so go ahead, sir.
Well, I had a couple. One, does your voting involve people with autism?
I'm sorry? Does
your voting line involve people with autism?
If citizens can vote, if you have autism or any other disability, as long as you are not a convicted felon who has not had your rights restored, or as long as you don't have a guardianship, a full guardianship or a limited guardianship that has taken away your rights to vote, you have the right to vote. Any reason. If you're not registered at your current address, you have to update your address. So my mother lives in an apartment. She recently moved from one apartment to the other, same building. I'm bringing a voter registration form tonight for her to fill out because we're having dinner together, and I'll bring it back. A simple apartment change is a change of address, so that does require an update of your voter registration. And you can do that at servicearizona.com, or you can do it with a paper form. And I have those in back as well. Yes?
So for those of us that are out of state, from my understanding, you have to be in a state for about a year to vote. And so what would I do in the meantime to help out certain causes, and certain votes can be ruled out? What can I do with that?
Well, are you a resident of Arizona now?
No, I just moved here a few months ago.
Do you have an Arizona driver's license?
No.
Are you going to get one?
Yeah, I'd like to get an Arizona ID.
Because you can register when you move in here because you're declaring Arizona as your residency. It doesn't need to be a year. But typically, in order to, Arizona has a law that requires you prove citizenship status. That typically is done with your driver's license, but it can be done with a tribal ID or an alien registration number if you've been a naturalized citizen. Additionally, we'll take your passport or a copy of your birth certificate to prove citizenship.
Okay.
And you just need to register 29 days prior to an election to vote in it. Now, we've got 2 elections coming up. We've got the August primary. Now, the city of Phoenix has 4 or 6 items on the election in the primary. So if you're just thinking you're going to vote for, you know, Congress or your legislative district, if you live in the city of Phoenix, there are some big issues on the ballot. Now, I haven't read them yet. I just got the publicity pamphlet yesterday. But just be aware of that there are issues on the election. And so just know, be informed, and get registered to vote. Ah, you got it right there. Excellent. That's why I like the permanent early voting list. We all know the November general election. It's that micro election, that school board election that you weren't paying attention to, and suddenly you get a yellow envelope in the mail and you go, oh, I've got something to vote on. And you got time to educate yourselves. And then I just want to promote some of the activities that Recorder Fontes is doing. He's been out here 2 or 3 times. He's been to the African American Disability Conference, went to the Native American Disability Conference. We did an hour-long Facebook Live at the Arizona Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. Recorder Fontes is incredibly passionate about each and every one of our citizens being registered to vote and being able to cast a vote as independently as you would like to. And we really want to encourage you to make sure that everyone you know is registered to vote and actually does vote. We don't promote candidates or issues, we promote democracy, because the only way democracy thrives is when we all participate.
One more question?
Let me just finish one thing and then you can. What I love to say to everyone is that the only place in America where you are truly equal is the ballot box. When you cast a ballot, we don't know if you're black or white or Hispanic or disabled, blind. It doesn't matter. You could be Bill Gates or a homeless person. When that ballot is cast, it is exactly the same. And the only way for us to exercise our rights is to actually put that piece of paper in the ballot box. And then finally, I'll give a plug. We actually do tours of our election center. So if you want to come down and I pull back the curtains and you can see the processes that we go through to count your ballots, I'd love to do that for you. Yes, sir. Thank you. I'd love to hear your question.
Yeah. Is there a way to verify that you're on the early ballot mail-out list?
Absolutely. Our website, maricopa.vote. You can see, am I registered and am I in the permanent early voting list? You can also see a sample ballot online as well. So if you have not received the publicity pamphlet yet, or you want to know what candidates are in your area, again, go to maricopa.vote. The little tab says, what's on my ballot? And you can see a sample ballot. My time's up, but I'm going to take Ronaldo's time a little bit for any last questions. I see that look. All right, no more questions. I love Ronaldo. We have worked so well together over the last year. He is really spectacular. And a huge thanks to all of you. You have been just a real delight to work with. It has been my honor and privilege to spend so much time here, to be warmly welcomed, and to have you register to vote, because really what I do for a living is I sell democracy. So thank you for caring and buying.
Chatham, thank you so much. We appreciate you being here.
I spend so much time here. I'm optimist.
You know, you come on by. We'll even feed you too. Thank you. Please don't leave today. If you haven't filled out your voter registration, Chatham is back there. He's willing to do that with you. You can get signed up today before you leave. Also, before you leave, in the back, as we finish the event, we'll have some pledge cards. If you're already registered to vote, but you want to pledge and sign a card saying, I'm going to vote, you know, statistically it shows when we actually fill out a pledge card, we're much more likely to actually go ahead and vote. We feel like we're accountable because we've signed something. Okay, I said I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So if you want to do that with us today, Ability 360 will have some cards back there. Just sign your name committing to register, or to vote. Ronaldo, you want to make your way up here? All right. Yes. Well, that's an excellent point. That's right. Well, the primary elections are really important because it gives us a chance to have a say in narrowing down the candidates, right? So it's really important that you have a couple of days now to get registered for the primary election. So do it now so that you can vote in that election. That's the part where you have the most choices. You can make a real impact in narrowing down the candidates for the general election in November. But Ronaldo's going to talk a little bit more about that, so I don't want to take his time. But let me introduce you properly. Ronaldo is the senior staff advocate with Arizona Center for Disability Law, where he has been employed since 1984. Ronaldo has spent more than 3 decades protecting the rights of students with disabilities in the education system. In January of 2014, Ronaldo was promoted to coordinator of the Help America Vote Act Protection and Advocacy Voting Assistance Program. The purpose of this program is to ensure that full participation in the electoral process for individuals with disabilities, including registering to vote, casting a vote, and accessible polling places. Ronaldo, we really appreciate your time today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, thank you. How you doing? Hello. All right, all right. This morning, I work at the same place the SEAM does, so I'm going to skip through some of these first slides. The purpose of this training is to just provide you a general overview about the voting information. It's not intended to be legal advice, and it talks about please contact your state, county, and local election officials. Okay. As the scene mentioned this morning, this is the Arizona Center for Disability Law, and I'm going to, for those, our mission, ACDL is a nonprofit law firm that assists Arizonans with disabilities to promote, protect their legal rights to independence, justice, and equality. Our vision is a society where people with disabilities enjoy a full acceptance without barriers. Okay? So ACDL, if you don't know about it, there's a similar organization like ours in every state. So ACDL is part of a national-wide protection and advocacy, PNA, system, which includes the Protection and Advocacy Vote Access Project. It's called PAVA. So when you have a voting concern, you call our office, and I'd like to speak to somebody in the PAVA. I have a voting question. Okay, so PNAs, protection and advocacy in every state and every territory under HAVA, that's where we get our funds, Help America Vote Act, ensures the full participation in the electoral process for individuals with disabilities, including registering to vote, casting a vote, and accessing polling places. People with disabilities have the same right to cast a private and independent ballot as their fellow Americans. So one of the things I really want to talk about is oftentimes we talk about just accessibility. We talk about voters with disabilities registering to vote, casting a vote, and accessing polling places. That's the focus of my job, okay? So Help America Vote Act. Everybody's familiar with Help America Vote Act? HAVA? Everybody familiar with HAVA? No, yes? Okay, let me backtrack a little bit. So Help America Vote Act was passed in 2002 by Congress, and it made some significant reforms to our federal election system process. These reforms include mandated improvements to accessibility, quality of polling places, physical access for individuals with disabilities, non-visual access for individuals with visual impairments, among other things. Okay? We had our election, Gore-Bush, years ago. We talked about the hanging chads and a lot of the problems we had. This is why they created this federal law. And HAVA includes requirements to make voting systems, voter registration, polling places, voting machines. Each polling place must have an accessible voting machine, and the individual who there needs to understand it and know how to operate that accessible voting machine. And it talks about making sure if you're a voter with a disability, you have a right to an independent and private vote. That is one of the most important things, because oftentimes in the past, if the equipment wasn't there, you get someone who's trying to sign in your name, you make sure you have an independent and private vote. Okay, so one of the things that I've done since I kind of took over this program is to really focus on working with the county recorders, Secretary of States, putting our energies into making sure that voters with disabilities, that we fix the system, improve the system, because what happens is if there's a glitch and you're not able to vote, you're going to be what? Disenfranchised, okay? Can you file a complaint? Yes. Will that get your vote back? No. So we put a great deal of emphasis and effort, and I think we've done a pretty good job. And what I want to talk about, Chatham talked about it earlier, that some of the different activities that we've probably done over the last couple years and last year or so to try to improve the voting system, especially in Maricopa County. I work with the entire state, so I'm hoping to interact with all the county recorders and the election officials so we can address issues of voters with disabilities. So if you look up on the table, as Chatham mentioned earlier, we had a number of disability roundtables with Mr. Fontes, who came in, talked to voters with disabilities, and addressed some of their concerns, and I think they made some significant changes since he's been in office. We've talked about the deputy registrar training. We just had one, the other day. We have them line up at this here at 360. Go to the website. Please register as a deputy registrar so you can get people to register to vote, okay? So that's a project that we have. We have a disability coalition meeting that we have every few months. If you're interested in that, you can talk to David or myself or Chatham. We get together, we talk about projects, what we want to work on. We're trying to be proactive, to be real honest with you. We're really trying to be proactive in terms of improving the voting system for voters with disabilities. Okay, any questions so far? All right. National Disability Voter Registration Week, which was last week. This is a week where self-advocates went out and getting voters with disabilities registered to vote. So that was an event that happened last week. And National Voter Registration Day, September the 25th, 2018, we're doing a lot of different activities with a lot of different groups. It's probably maybe 20 disability groups involved. We're actually, as Chad mentioned, we're going to day programs, group homes, we're doing training. The focus is getting voters with disabilities to register to vote. We're working with the Commission for the Deaf of Hard of Hearing. We're working with SAVI, Southern Arizona Association of Visually Impaired. I hope I got that right. They're involved with that. So we're really doing a lot of work in terms of reaching out and getting folks to register to vote. In addition to getting them to register to vote is to getting them to what? Cast their vote. Very important. Cast their vote. You could be registered to vote, but if you're not casting your vote, doesn't really matter. Okay? So we're working on just not getting people registered to vote, but also casting a vote. Okay. Also, I am working with Arizona Clean Elections on a project called Voters Without a Permanent Home. What is that? Homeless. Can you vote if you're homeless? Absolutely you can. How? I have brochures right in the back to tell you exactly how to do it, but I'm going to give you quick. You just go register, and Chatham can talk about you. If you don't have actual address, you can put on your voter registration. If you look at the form, they have little maps, and you just say, I live under this bridge. This is where I live, and we are actually going out to CAS, the shelter. We've already met with them. We already have materials. I can give it to you at the end of the training. So you can get your mail general delivery, or you can get your mail at the shelter or wherever. So voters who are homeless can vote as long as they have ID. It's like everybody else. Okay? That's why we have these projects. Okay? So one of the things that we've really done a lot, they're not here today, but Southwest Arizona for Families. I get them. George. Thank you, Monica. What is it, Monica? Yes, that's what it's called. What that is a group led by individuals with disabilities. We have gone into schools. We have done many, many trainings focusing on young people with disabilities in high school. We're trying to catch them young, because if we catch them young, we figure we get a track going with them voting. So we have lots of, this is all under getting, how many more minutes do I have? Getting people to vote. Thank you. Getting people to vote. Okay? We have a special voter outreach training, and actually there's going to be a survey to candidates to see what their positions are regarding issues important to voters with disabilities. Now, as I mentioned to you earlier, our focus has really been on collaboration. It's really, really been on collaboration with different groups. But however, it says ACDA also provides information about and may assist with filing a complaint if necessary. There's an enforcement part of my job too. Okay? So voters with disabilities have a right. They can enforce if they experience discrimination as a result of their disability in registering or voting process. So you can go to our website and lots of voting information on it. Here is where you can file your complaint. Arizona Secretary of State. Also, you can do the Title II, U.S. Department of Justice, and the Arizona Civil Rights Act. So, but one of the things, as I mentioned to you earlier, we're putting a lot of effort on and working with the recorders, the election officials, to make sure that voters with disabilities are not discriminated, because once you end up filing a complaint, this is probably going to happen, what, after the election? And you're going to more likely be what? Disenfranchised. You're not going to get that vote back. So if you have any questions, I have brochures. Yes? Any questions? Okay, so I'll be here the rest of the day if you have any questions. And on election day, I run a hotline, from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. If you're a voter with a disability, you show up at a polling place, the machine's on, not working, they've been rude to you. We'll take your calls and we'll try to talk with the county and get it fixed so you can vote that day. Okay? Have a good day. What you say, Chatter? I am too. I am too. Not like the 300 in March.
We didn't get
All right. So we've got our next speaker is Michelle Stokes. Michelle Stokes, Michelle is the Tempe's ADA compliance specialist, and her responsibility is to work to improve access, inclusion, ADA, and 504 compliance in Tempe. She has served in Tempe for the past 4 years and has worked in the disability community as a professional for over 30 years. She currently serves as a commissioner on the board for the Arizona Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. Michelle is a wonderful advocate and has always been a good friend to us, so we thank her for being here with us today and explaining to us a little bit about what's going on in Tempe around accessibility.
I am so glad to be here. How many of you live in Tempe or work in Tempe? Okay, we got a few. I want more. Move to Tempe. Move to Tempe now, okay? We need more people in Tempe. Okay, I'm going to talk to you real quick about what we're doing in Tempe. And the first thing we're doing is we're making waves in the desert. That's our new tagline, by the way. Tempe, right over there. Right over there, right down the street. So we're glad. We hope you come and visit if you don't live there. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I do. I get to work with all of you, and I love it. I love doing what I do. I process accommodations and modification policy requests. I address complaints, requests, referrals, anything to do with disability and Tempe, you call me. And I review budget for ADA implementation. I do training. We applied for grants. We've been applying for quite a few grants lately. We got some, and I'll tell you about that in a little bit. ADA transition plan, workflow, I'll tell you a little bit about that. The legislative involvement with the city manager's office, I work with them. I also staff the Tempe Mayor's Commission on Disability Concerns, and we're working very hard to make a lot of changes in Tempe. We're working with we have a couple of job fairs that we do, one for the deaf, hard of hearing, and disability job fair that's coming up at the end of October. We also have a youth mock interview Appaloosa. So for those of you that are coming out of high school, you want some practice interviewing, we'll give you good feedback. We have that, that's in October. So look on our website and you'll be able to find it. We host the Hearing Loss Association of America meetings, the Working Adult chapter, about every other month in the Tempe Library. And then we have quarterly speakers on different disability topics that's open to the public. So I want to tell you about our transition plan. We are so pleased with it, and I'd love for you to get online at tempe.gov/ADA under What New, and it's called our ADA Story Map. Now this is just a PowerPoint, but it's all interactive. You can scroll down, get a lot of information. The map that's attached to it actually moves. You can go and look at any intersection and see what we need to fix. Once we fixed it, it comes off the map. So it's beautiful, it's very interactive. We've got phase 1, which is our downtown area entered in. We're just about ready to enter in phase 2, which is north of Guadalupe, out of the right-of-way. Phase 3 will be coming in 2019. So this is what it looks like at the beginning of it. And it'll show you maps. It'll show you, for example, this little box here. tells you what the problem is. You scroll down on it, and it tells you how much it costs to fix it. And once we fix it, then our city departments that fix it will say it's fixed, and it'll come off the map. We look at curb ramps and crosswalks, sidewalks. We look at the different things that are on that ADA story map. It tells you exactly what we're looking at. What's a running slope, what's a cross slope. And then we're also doing a lot of public involvement. I went out to 10 different disability organizations to get comments to find out what are some of the barriers that you guys are running into. And it was wonderful. I love getting out. I love being able to, I went to Savvy, I went to the Centers for Rehabilitation, a lot of different groups. We got a lot of different comments. We also have the report in easy English, and it's basically written in 3rd grade level, makes it easy for folks who have developmental disabilities or reading limitation to get the same information. All of this is available on our website. We did prioritization. What should we fix first? Should we fix the parks first? Parking, curb ramps, sidewalks, traffic signals, bus stops? What do we fix first? So we actually went to a couple of health fairs, and we had this up, and we asked folks, hey, what should we fix first? And as you can see, some of the results. It looked like we need to fix the sidewalks first. So that's part of what we're doing. We went to Apache ASL Trails, which is a deaf senior housing community. TCH, we went to the Hearing Loss Association of America, Southern Arizona Association for the Visually Impaired. We went to, of course, our commission meetings, and at our disability awards, which we have every year, we had over 200 individuals there. And we had a presentation table out there, so folks got to provide comments. So what else are we doing? We have Access Tempe. You go online, and what this is, and it's in beta, so you have to do it on your computer. It won't work on your phone yet. But you can go in and look up services in Tempe. And the one at the very end, services, we have over 100 disability-related services that are in the East Valley. Okay, not everything is in Tempe. So East Valley services. And the way that they're broken down is by functional needs. So it'll be vision, hearing, thinking, caregiving. And you can go through and see if any of those companies will be of help. And you can click right to it, and it'll take you right to their website. So communication, vision, movement, thinking, caregiving, behavioral, and general. That's how it's laid out. Okay, what else are we doing? We put in for a grant for Gila River Indian Community Grant, and it's our ADA Transit Wayfinding Pilot. We had an idea, and we wanted to see if it worked. And what the idea is to develop a wayfinding pilot for riders who are blind. Using electronic landmarks, bus stops, and scheduling information using beacons. So what we did at the Tempe Transportation Center is we put these electronic beacons at the bus stops. And they broadcast a message. And once you get the app, then it'll tell you 40 feet ahead is bus stop number 12. To your left, to your north is this. To your south is this, okay? So it gives you some wayfinding beacons, some wayfinding landmarks. We're going to be testing that coming up in the next month. Again, this is a pilot. We want to make sure it works before we put it out there. If it does work, if everything works accordingly, Valley Metro is going to be expanding it throughout the whole region. So this was a $30,000 grant that we got, and we're really happy with it. As I said, we'll be doing the evaluation piece next month. So this is our Tempe Transportation Center, and where we put the beacons is actually at the end of every station. Every bus stop. So as you're walking through, you're getting the information as you go by. This is a larger shot of it. We did not do the light rail. Once we show that it works on the bus, then we'll be working with them on the lightweight. This is another grant that we got that we're really happy about. We're just now getting started with it. It's through the Arizona Community Foundation. And it's to install hearing loops for people who use hearing aids or cochlear implants in a couple of our big meeting rooms in the Tempe Library. So if I'm profoundly deaf, I read lips. Glad to see all of your lips. And what it will do is, so if I come into the room and somebody's using the microphone, that sound goes directly into my hearing aids. And that's what the loop does. So we're getting ready to, we're just now going through the RFP process, and hopefully we'll have it installed by October. So what are some of our challenges? Getting the ADA transition plan data into our workflow processes. And it's like, well, what does that mean? That means we've identified what needs to be fixed. Now we need to identify which department is going to fix it, when they're going to fix it, where they're going to get the money, okay? And just so you know, Tempe Council has allotted over $1 million a year to make ADA fixes, and that's just part of the budget, okay? That's just a small piece of it. Every capital improvement project, every other project that we're working on also will be fixing ADA issues. Other challenges, keeping up with the new technology. We just get something in and something better comes along. Okay, so it's like, okay, what works? What will work for a period of time? And we're working on that. We're working on policy changes regarding mental health accommodation strategies. We're looking at, because some of the laws that they're trying to pass on the state side may impact how we do business. We're trying to make sure that we don't have any reduction of ADA or disability access. And then money. It's always about money. Okay, so this is how you can get a hold of me. You have questions, you have a complaint, you have a request, you want to know how we're doing something, you want to get involved. I'm open to all of that. So right now, any questions about Tempe? All right, way to go. Come to Tempe. Oh, we got one. I do not know. I do know the information and referral phone line, which actually you guys have some information and referral here. They may have some information. The only reason we're doing it for East Valley is because of Tempe. So I would recommend to some of your other cities out there, bug them. Tell them you want something like this.
Right.
Okay.
Right, because we'd love to have every city in the valley come here and give a presentation. The reason we have Tempe and Phoenix here is they have ADA coordinators and really strong ADA programs. So if your city doesn't, if your town doesn't, show up at a council meeting and talk to them about, hey, we really need an ADA coordinator. We need someone dedicated to services and accommodations for people with disabilities.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. So our final speakers from the city of Phoenix, and hang in there, game time is next, so get ready. You've got some fun, very expensive, fabulous, no, I'm kidding, fun prizes though. Marquina Bean is from the city of Phoenix. She's the compliance and administrative officer for the city, and she's going to give us an update about what's going on there and what are they working on as far as services and accommodations for people with disabilities.
Is it on? Yes. Okay. Good afternoon. I don't recognize hardly anyone here, so I was so happy to see you, Michelle, because I was like, in the middle of my speech, there's a bunch of names you guys are probably not even going to know. Because I'm Marquita Bean. I work for the city of Phoenix, and I've been there 23 years. I've been in civil rights for more than 30. I was in the Navy in civil rights. I worked for the Attorney General's office. But my lens has been investigations, employment, public accommodations, ordinance, that kind of thing. And I'm an advocate at heart. But I will say that I had such the honor and privilege of being tutored and schooled under some great, what I call, civil rights and justice warriors. And so I will say these names and I'm like, you probably won't even know them. I was like, ah. So our department, the City of Phoenix is committed, and I don't know if any of you have had the pleasure of meeting our new city ADA coordinator, Peter Fisher. For years and years and years, it was Michelle. It was Michelle Stokes. And she had that and a bunch of other stuff. And so ADA kind of was one of those things that we fitted in, but never truly focused on. And so finally, we had an ADA assessment and the beginning of a formal transition plan, and the big recommendation was the creation of a position that only addresses ADA. Title II and Title III initially, now we're expanding to cover Title I to ensure that our employees and our applicants are receiving the appropriate accommodations in order to become members of our team and be treated fairly and with respect. I will say the City of Phoenix is committed to equality. Our department in particular enforces our non-discrimination ordinance, which mirrors the state and federal laws, but you always have the right, and I always encourage it, even though the city isn't always happy with that, people to take advantage of standing up for themselves. Because so often people are discriminated against, and I can say after 30 years, it takes something from you that we can't give back. So even if we can give you the job, even if we can give you back pay, we can't take the harm that it carves out of your heart and soul. And you're never the same. And I always say that, even when we're in situations where we have to have large settlements, I say, we can't give back what we took. So go ahead and write the check, because we can't give back what we really took from them. So, but what's hard is in empowering people, informing people to say, I've been treated disrespectfully, and stand up for themselves. So I always thank people now for coming forward with their concerns, because it's so often they don't. We hear about it in a survey. I might hear it in passing in a conversation, but people don't stand up for themselves. The other thing our office does, just so if you care what the equal opportunity is, we certify small and disadvantaged businesses to do business with the city. We set goals for those businesses. That's one of the programs we're in charge with. And we staff the 3 commissions. And I actually staffed the Mayor's Commission on Disability Issues for 5 years. It was an awesome, awesome time. We still did a formal luncheon those years with speakers. It was different. As budgets get cut, things shift around. But I had the pleasure of doing that as in part of my time at EOD. Let's talk about what the city is doing. I can say that in my investigative role, one of the things that I say all the time, and so now because it's almost associated with something dirty, I'm careful how I say it, is the ADA is the grayest of all the Civil Rights Act, because it requires people to stretch individually. The law gives what I consider a framework, but in order for us to provide genuine, true, equal access, and for me, meet the spirit of the law and the intent of the law, it's an individual assessment. And it requires often you to stretch beyond what the words say. Because sometimes it's like what I say about architectural accessibility. It's written for a certain style of mobility device. But if you don't use that, then our bathroom only meeting that style doesn't help you. So you always have to pause and say, what is happening now, and what does this person need, and why can't I give it to them? And sometimes it's hard, and Michelle can attest to that because she's been a champion and a warrior for a long time. And in fact, I said and admired her for years and years and years and years for all the times when she spoke truth to power, because that's hard to do often, especially depending on your level in our organization. So the city has done some great things. We continued our enforcement of our ordinance and the ADA and our internal compliance. We've expanded the role of, and I was so excited, Peter's not excited, but I was excited to expand his role beyond just Title II, which is our physical kind of sidewalks and things. The city is big And so we have lots of people who touch ADA. They don't even know that they touch ADA, and it's trying to embed the right mindset in terms of how they even engage with a customer that has a question about access, the level of respect that's communicated, the pause before they respond harshly because someone to them is asking a lot of questions without trying to understand why are they asking questions and how can I communicate in a more effective way with them. We have just over the years, and Michelle, I'm looking at Michelle because I'm like, oh, maybe Michelle could stand up here and cry. But the other thing we did is we have ongoing, and right now we're in a big push to update our transition plan. So we had Bill Stokes, who's transitioned on to, I always say a better place, but not everybody believes in that, transitioned on, but he was the person who wrote our initial transition plan. We have continued to update it, and now with Peter's help, we're going to do a completely new survey and address enhancing areas of access and accommodation. So I'm so excited. I'm so excited about that. I also am excited about having Peter be able to serve as an advocate for our employees and applicants when they need accommodations. Because though HR is supposed to serve that role, it doesn't always get to serve that role because it has to represent management too. And it's so for our employees to feel like if they need someone to just see their side of it so that they can be successful in our workspaces and our applicants. We also, Peter, and I was very excited about that. In fact, that's why he's not here today. It's because he's conducting a training. They created a 16-member disability crisis management team. And that works with our emergency management so that we are considering the needs of all when we make plans for how we're going to manage potential environmental disasters, weather disasters. What do we have people trained? Do we understand the varied needs of people when they're coming to our shelters and our facilities? Do we understand how to engage people respectfully when you're trying to understand what do they need, that kind of thing? And so Peter's put together a team of various practitioners that are going to train our public safety officials and also be alerted if there is a disaster to be in every shelter to help ensure that we are accommodating appropriately and treating people with respect. And I was really excited. We have continued to manage our Mayor's Commission on Disability issue and our Save Our Space accessible parking program, which has been around a long time, but it still is an active program that helps bring awareness to not parking in spots that you don't need. It's one of my pet peeves. People, even after stores are closed, they're like, well, I was only there for 5 minutes. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Because that's 5 minutes less that someone who needs the spot doesn't have access to it. So it's one of those things, one of my pet peeves. And Peter has done an incredible job of providing disability etiquette training to city staff. And that's an ongoing effort. And what is amazing to me is though our society, we have done this just weird turn where we just live in disrespect and we just choose to disrespect. And I'm just blown away at lack of just compassion and respect. Pause or, use of grace. I have 3 minutes. Okay. I'm looking at signs. I'm talky, so I have to pay attention. So one of the things that it's important for me to say that I would say after a more than 30-year careers in this field, that I have been mentored, guided, and inspired by some incredible, and I spoke to them, fearless warriors of justice. And I'm just going to read their names, and I don't even think most of them are here. So Phil Pangrazio, Amina Kruk, Judith Tennell, Tony Diorenzi, Denise Thompson, Dan Martinez, Cindy Brown, Fernando Cruz, Pam Allen, Herb Hacker, Gary Corcoran, Ashley Bridwell, and Ernestina Saldana, David Carey, are people who I would say left permanent imprints in my soul. And some of them are not with us, but I think about them whenever I face something difficult. And the thing I can say about the disability community is it's equal access. Anybody can be a member, and at some point you probably will be. And so it's just, you're welcomed, you're always included, and it's about understanding and respecting. But I have worked with people who stretched me, and I consider myself one of those advocate type people, but I have met people who even said, okay, Marquita, you're not seeing that from all perspectives. Look at it from this way. And we're kind enough to challenge me to just be greater and to keep the fight, because it's you have to be vigilant. So I want to close in saying that I personally believe that only by working together we can ensure that Phoenix is a universally accessible place to live, work, and visit. Although it is quoted often, it is still a universal truth that tolerating injustice against anyone is sanctioning it against injustice for everyone. It is important that no matter what you think you can't do, your limitation is, whatever you feel, do what you can when you can. Report discrimination. That's kind of my pet peeves. Tell somebody. Monitor what occurs in the judicial system and pass that information on. That matters. Write letters or make calls. That matters. Protest. That matters. Volunteer. That matters. Donate your resources. That's time, talent, and sometimes just prayers. That matters. And attend events like today. All of those kinds of things show support for advocacy organizations. They help empower people to speak truth when they need to. When you see injustice, even if you don't feel confident enough to say something, tell somebody so they can say something. Our collective voices matter, and most importantly, your individual voice matters. So if I could leave you with any thought, it's that the city of Phoenix is committed to doing it better, but we can't do it better without hearing you. So we need you. We need your voice. Thank you.
Well, I have to say, we've had a good event if we're quoting Dr. Martin Luther King before we end. So thank you, Marquita. We appreciate your thoughts and for sharing with us today. We want to finish up having just a little bit of fun. So we've got a quick ADA trivia game. So I'll have our staff come up. I'll introduce you to Polly Queen. She's the volunteer coordinator at Ability 360. Paul, you want to wave? We've got Chris Cooley. She's the advocacy program aide. We have Jillian Carr. She's the Community Leadership Academy Coordinator. If you want to learn about leadership and advocacy, take a class with her. And then we've got Stacy Zimmerman. And Stacy, I lost my notes on your title. Tell me your title again. She does more than one program here, so it's a little tricky.
So it's Community Integration Advocate and transition from nursing home to community.
She takes care of me.
There we go.
I have.
All right, so they're going to tell you about the rules of this game. Have fun, enjoy. It's going to help us make sure we learn something about the ADA that we take home with us, okay?
Stacy. Nope, I'm not it. Tag, you're it.
All righty, are we ready to have some fun? Woo! Woohoo! Okay, I got to hear you guys. You ready to have fun? Let me know. Woohoo! Okay, here we go. Now, before we have some fun, we're going to have some helpers out here. So we have Douglas over here is going to be giving us some help. And then you guys were already introduced to Jillian. Chris right here is going to be helping us out, so raise your hands. And Trisha back there, raise your hand. Let them know we're going to be helping you all out on this game. But let me give you the rules of the game first. And this is ADA trivia. Okay, there will be questions will be read with following answers. So there's going to be answers after we read the question. Please do not yell out the answer. We got to try to control ourselves here. Let's not yell out the answer. Okay? We're going to rate after we ask the question and we read the answers. That gives you the opportunity to raise your hand if you can. That means you know what it is or possibly knows. That's right. Get that hand up there. You see Stacy over here? Or you can make a moo sound. Okay? So you can either raise your hand or make a moo sound. Okay? And you don't have to make it like me. It could be moo.
That's the saddest cow
It's a sick cow. It's a sick cow. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, and then Chris and Jillian will come over with the mic and the answer can be given. Okay? So if there are 7 of you, raise your hands or moo. They're going to go and ask each one of you. You're going to give your answer, and we're going to wait till we're done with those, and then the correct ones, we'll let you know who it is. and then you'll get something. Okay, so here we go. We're going to start it out.
All right, question number 1. How many titles are in the ADA? 2, 3, 4, or 5?
Keep them hands up. All right, my side over here. Douglas, Jillian, go over there. Okay, keep your hands up. All right, we're going to start over
Doug,
here.
go to someone that has their hands up.
Yeah, someone has their hands up. So go ahead, Mary. Your answer?
5.
5. Okay.
3.
3. Keep them hands up.
4.
4. Keep your hands up, even though you gave us your answer.
5.
3.
5.
All right, your side over here. Oh.
3. Okay.
They're saying 3. See. Okay, we got a 5. 5.
5. Okay. 5.
All right.
Okay, everybody that had their hand up.
Yep.
Everyone that said 5.
Put your hand back up, which I know
You're correct.
Mary did. Yes.
There are 5.
Woo! 5. So those of you, which is I think 3 over here that said 5, perfect. We have our adorable attendants coming by with a lovely beads to wear around your neck.
So just those that said 5.
Okay. All righty. Next.
Oh, who's got the clicker?
Who's turning?
Oh, okay, go.
Oh, is it good?
Yep.
Okay, next question. Which of the following enforces Title I ADA compliance? Department of Justice, that's A. B, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, that's B. C, Federal Transit Administration, D, all of the above. Okay, those of you that know the answer, did you say move right here, sir?
Do not shout out the answer, just raise your hand.
Did someone say moo? Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
Barry, what was your answer?
2.
D? Okay.
Yeah, B. D-E-O-C.
D?
Department of Justice.
That's A.
All of the above.
We have Amanda over here.
Go ahead, Amanda.
Okay.
D, all of the above.
Got Kara.
D. D.
D.
Okay.
Okay, now over here.
D.
D, right here. Julian behind you. Gentleman in the white hat. Oh, you already got them? Okay, perfect. Anyone else over here?
We already got them. Yeah.
As I breathe into this. All right. The answer is B. That's right.
As in boy.
B as in boy. So the person that said B, right there, and Mary. So we got our 2. Woohoo! Okay, moving right along.
That was a trick. Everybody thought
that was
D
a
'cause
tricky
it
one,
said
guys.
all the above.
All right.
All right, this is a little easier. Okay, so raise your hand to answer the question, but as people are answering, you cannot start raising your hands. Okay?
Yep.
Raise your hand, and once the first person answers, then that's it.
Yep,
okay?
that's it.
Okay, true or false? True or false? Oh, you want to know the question?
There's the trick question.
The ADA requires service animals to be professionally trained.
Okay, get your hands up. Okay, we're going to start
True.
over here.
So don't shout out the answer.
True.
So don't shout out the answers, please. Starting
Okay, Mary.
over there.
What? True. I
Okay.
mean, false. False.
Okay, false. Keep going.
I'm going to go with true.
Okay.
True.
Okay.
True.
True.
Okay.
I would say true.
False.
Okay.
True.
Okay.
Our side's covered.
Side's done.
I didn't wait.
Yeah, our side's covered.
False.
Okay.
I think it's false. I'm not sure.
Okay, we're waiting on this other side.
True.
Okay.
True.
Woo, Chris, you're getting a workout.
False.
False. And
Kimberly over here.
Well, you had your hand up to begin with. What's your answer? True. Okay. So, the answer is false.
False.
Answer
False.
is false. There's no
All right,
federal-
those of you that said false, which there's only, what, about 4 or 5 of
There's
you, which Mary over here, you're going to have an assortment
there were
of
only
beads,
about
Mary.
4 or 5.
Woo!
There's no federal requirement on how to train a service animal, so that is false.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, moving right along, guys. Which president signed the ADA into law on July 26, 1990? Number A, George W. Bush. B, Bill Clinton. C, George H. W. Bush. D, Barack Obama.
So we're going to start over. We're going to start over here.
Yep, we're going to start on the right side.
Sorry, Chris. Okay, your hands are up.
Okay, once his first
Now
answer is
that's
given,
it.
that's it. Okay,
That's
good.
it.
George H.W.
Okay, hang. They're coming. C?
C.
Okay.
C.
C. C.
C. C.
Okay. Middle section here. Back table, what are you saying? C?
Okay.
C? Everybody says C? Okay.
Kimberly?
C? Okay, that's
Okay, this side?
Made it easy for you.
C.
C?
C.
Right here?
C. C.
Anybody that is different than C, tell me what it is. C. All right. Guess what, guys? It is nice to say everyone in here got it right. Woo-hoo! Woo! That is awesome. All right. All right. Those of you that said C, put your hand up. You're going to get your color beads. That's right. Well done. Well done. I know. All right.
All right, your next question. What does ADA stand for? You can't. There, did I drown that out?
What does ADA stand for? Put them hands up so we can see, or moo for me. I have not heard a moo yet. I'm really hurt. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, we'll start with you, Mary. ADA stands for?
Americans with Disabilities Act. American Disabilities Act.
Yo.
American Disabilities Act.
Can I just have them all shouted
What he said.
Yes, that would be much better.
All right, for those of you that have your hands up and you think you know the answer, shout it out.
Hey, wait a minute. I thought it was.
Wait a minit.
I thought
That's
it was
not right.
Against Drugs Agency.
It means you actually did activity today.
Okay, there you go. All right. Yes. All right.
So we're gonna hold off on a bead for that one.
Yeah, we'll
because
hold out.
everybody knew that one.
Yeah. Okay, moving along to the next one. All right, guys. Here's that true or false. Not no or yes. True or false. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, so. Well, hold on here. You got a 50-50 chance. Okay, an employer is required to shift an essential function of a job to another employee as a reasonable accommodation. True or false? Raise your hands.
False.
Okay. Okay, Mary said false. Okay, false. Two more over here on this side. Yes, she did.
True.
Okay. Okay, this side now. False for Amanda?
Amanda, you said false?
Yep.
Okay. Two false up here. Two false make a right.
No.
Okay.
False.
Okay.
False.
False.
Kara?
False.
Right here in the middle?
All right. The answer.
The answer is false. So those of you that said false, so an essential job function is a fundamental duty of a position. It is something the person holding the job absolutely must be able to do in order to be qualified. Okay. Hey, no, wait, are we out of beads? Oh, okay. Okay, perfect. Okay, next.
Show of hands. And
That's it.
Okay, next question. Number 7. Which title of the ADA covers state and local governments? Title 1, Title 2, Title 3, or Title 5? Which title of the ADA covers state and local governments? Title 1, Title 2, Title 3, or Title 4? 5. Sorry, 5. We've got 2, 3 hands, 4 hands up. No more hands. Go ahead.
5.
5? Okay.
Two.
Okay.
3.
3.
Two. Okay, the answer. I think Mary's a ringer here in this group. I don't know. It's Title 2. Title 2. Public services, state and local government. Way to go. So Mary and the other lady over there were...
Perfect. All right, next. Oh. All right, guys, this is what we're going to do with this one. It's a true or false. I know you love the true or false. Okay, so true or false, snakes are considered service animals. Now, hold on. All of you that agree with true, raise your hands. Snakes are service animals. All of you that disagree with that and think snakes are considered service animals, raise your hands for false. The false have it. Very good.
All right.
Service animals are dogs and horses. Yes, those are the two animals that are considered service animals. Not turkeys, guinea pigs, or snakes.
No ostriches.
No ostriches, okay? All right, moving right along.
All right. Where can you file a federal complaint of discrimination by a public accommodation? Is it the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Arizona Attorney General, Civil Rights Division, or all of the above? Where can you file a federal complaint of discrimination by a public accommodation? U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Arizona Attorney General, Civil Rights Division, or all of the above?
All right, hands are up. We got the 4. That's it.
All right.
All of the above.
All of the above. Okay.
All the above.
Jillian, your table.
Oh, all of the above.
Perfect, Mary.
I'm going to go with her answer.
That doesn't count. That doesn't count. That's not an answer.
All of the above.
All above. All of the above.
Okay. The answer is. Oh, sorry.
One more.
Sorry. Okay. All right. Hands keep going up after people are answering.
All of the above.
Okay. The answer is A. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. The answer is D. And for now on, Mary's the last one to answer. So that people can't copy her answer. All right.
Can we just do one more, you think? I think. Okay, we got one more, guys. And then I have a little announcement. Okay, here we go. Which one do we want to do?
23.
23? Okay, I'm going to read 23.
Can you click to it?
Yeah, I can get to it. I don't know if you can click to 23.
Just keep.
All right, guys, here we go.
Which one it is?
23. Which title of the ADA prohibits discrimination in public accommodations? A, Title 1, B, Title 2, 3, Title 3, or excuse me, C, D, Title 4. So which title of the ADA prohibits discrimination in public accommodations? A, Title 1, B, Title 2, C, Title 3, D, Title 4.
All right, we got 5 hands.
Got 5 hands up. Okay, let's check them out over here.
D.
Okay.
Wait, hold off on Mary. These two?
C.
Barry? Mary?
Mary?
Title
Yes.
1, A.
Okay, how about you, Mary?
Mary's the last one.
Title 3.
So the correct answer is Title 3.
Yay! Woohoo! All righty.
So now you figure out who has start with like 3B or
Okay, perfect.
five.
Okay, what we're going to do is anyone in the room that has 5 beaded necklaces, 5 beaded necklaces on. Anyone with 5?
Did anyone win 5 beads, 5 necklaces?
I think yours are 4. Okay, let's see, you have 4, Mary. Anyone with 4? Okay, raise your hands if you have 4. Now you're going to get your super duper prize. Yes. It is Ability 360 sunglasses. Oh, yes. That's what I like to hear. And a candy necklace. So we got sweet and protection at the same time. It's awesome.
So while they're passing out these prizes for the people that participated, there is always a bonus to participate. Go ahead, you can pass out to the ones that.
Okay, anyone with 3. 3. All righty.
Because we ran
Okay.
out.
All right, the rest of the hands up. Yeah,
did you?
Mary got hers. Perfect. All righty. Do you want me to?
What's that?
All right. For those of you that did not realize it, you can take a survey back here. John, when you raise your hand, he's in the back over here, guys. He's in the back right corner. You have an opportunity to still take the survey. If you didn't get to, because I know you were asking me about it, Kara. If you didn't get to take it, someone, raise your hand, will come and help you do it. Those of you that want to can also do it with your phones. But once we're done with that, they're going to draw for a prize. So if those of you didn't get the opportunity to do it, would like to, raise your hand. Someone will help you. Okay. There you go, John. It's about... Yes, and then please put your name in the little fish bowl back there. And if they come to help you, they'll bring you the little card to write your name on, to put in the fish bowl.
So I have one more question. Since this is the ADA celebration, how many years are we celebrating? Yay, all right. See, they do pay attention. It's awesome.
Well, guys, thank you for being here with us today. On behalf of all the Ability 360 staff and our planning committee, we hope you had fun. We hope you learned something about the ADA and your civil rights. Thank you. Have a good afternoon.
Stay.